Hey people, last day of 2022. What a year. And what a way to go out. Right off the top of my head, yes, more folks have passed away of note. Folks were, I, a couple of people asking me about Ian and Sylvia. One of the queries was not a friendly worded one. So I deleted it. I'm not under any obligation, and I just don't understand why some people have weird attitudes. But I can pick up on them in the words that you use. I used to have several Ian and Sylvia albums because they were so dang popular back in their day that as a thrift store person and as also a person who at times would get records given to me, I would end up with them inadvertently. And I recognized their importance in the 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 evolvement of pop music and folk music even in the popular mainstream. So so rest in peace. I believe it was Ian who passed away. Two more people that well, one that it's huge that we lost a pope. I have nothing to say about him. Barbara Walters was such a huge figure in American culture that I noticed that. And I liked Barbara Walters. I like her story. I liked her approach to her job. I loved the pioneering things that she did for women in the industry. I also loved the fact that my younger sister and my brother-in-law both met her because Floyd Norman is famous. My brother-in-law, the Disney animator, living legend, first black man to be an illustrator at Disney. He's still alive in his 80s. There's a picture of him sitting with Barbara Walters and Whoopi Goldberg and some other folks on my Facebook page that my sister just shared. Pretty cool stuff it is. Folks, cheers first. Please watch the last interview I did with Percy Jones, the truly amazing and unique bass player. He really sounds like no one else. He's very humble, as you'll see in the video. Has not received due recognition for the innovations that he has made in bass technique, how it's played and how it's used in modern music. He's not recognized by the mainstream. He is recognized by us music lovers, musicians. He is a musician's musician. Please, please watch the video because it gave Percy an opportunity to share some news about how members of his ex-management have been screwing him quite literally out of money and also misrepresenting themselves as still being Brand X. It's really a shame to me when this happens with people that you play music with, and it's happened to me. It's so disappointing that you can come together and make such a wonderful creation through music and through greed or unscrupulous values. You would hurt people that you make music with, and that's literally what it is. I showed a couple of those CDs that Brand X made after their reunion, and he hasn't seen a cent from those. That's wrong. The other thing that he let me know is that the Brand X page on Facebook is these fakes. So I had been following it. I unfollowed it, knowing that there's no connection to Percy or Robin Lumley, so there's no point in following that page. We also talked about he's working with Alex Skolnick, amazing guitarist. You know him from Testament and what's that other band? Anyway, he's doing things, has done things more recently management-wise with Leonardo Pavkovic, who runs Moon June Records and I haven't met personally, but we are in contact, and I consider him a friend as well. So his relationship, current relationship, is much better than with those guys. So watch the video. Besides that, it's very informative. And as much as I talked, I forgot to ask him about playing on this album, Voyage of the Acolyte, Steve Hackett, one of my favorites. Now, Steve Hackett is someone who I would like to interview. Folks are throwing people at me, and I'm not interested. You know, I could talk to them, but I'd like to talk to people that I am interested in sharing something with them. To me, it was important to share with Percy his importance on development of bass technique. You know, I don't think he hears it enough. He probably doesn't hear it at all. So I'm proud to be someone who can pass that on to someone. Okay? I could have kept him longer, but my body as well as my sensibilities tell me when it's time to kind of wrap it up. And I hate the fact that, you know, I'll be sitting here and talking and then I have to go, and then it gets ridiculous. Oh well. Got a message from Percy this morning, email thanking me and saying he really appreciated how well informed I am. He's done a lot of work, and it's all good, and he really does deserve more attention and praise. If you go and watch any videos of him playing live, there's lots of them on YouTube, particularly with the Brand X reunion and Pact. You'll see that Percy is about one thing, and that's about playing. He's not a celebrity hog. An amazing, great man. I'm really honored to talk to him. And yeah, so much fun. So if you haven't heard this album, Nova by Vimana, by Nova, which is the band that came out of the Italian progressive rock band Osana. This is very, very, very good. Narada Michael Walden on drums. He's someone else that I'd have fun talking to Narada. Actually, yeah, I'd like to talk to Narada. He is a real spirit. Yeah, that's another person that would be enjoyable to trade notes with and to talk to. John McLaughlin is, you know, in that wheelhouse. These are people who have done a lot musically that has changed my life in good ways. I'd love a conversation with John McLaughlin, Billy Cobham, Jan Hammer, people like that. Even Jerry Goodman. Okay? But this album, Vimana, as Percy says in it, he was drawn to it. You know, he was hired, but then it was like, wow, I really like this because these are some really good tunes. Fusion, Mahavishnu inspired, and what's very interesting is that the whole album, it sounds like they're a band. It sounds like they've been together. It sounds like they've been playing music for a while. It's very good. It's very good. So that influenced my listening last night, and I pulled out a couple of things related. Passport, unrelated to Percy Jones personally, but this is German jazz rock that I got turned on to back in the 70s. Looking Through was the first one I heard. No, that's not true. Second Passport is the first one I heard. Then I got this when it came out because I was hooked. Played those albums to death. I've had 2 or 3 copies. This is, it says on the cover, 75 cents. That's probably what I paid for this, you know, to replace my beat up copy. Klaus Doldinger, well known in Germany for his involvement in jazz and rock and pop. Another personal thing, I've mentioned in the past that my dad was a jazz musician from Chicago. He was raised with Johnny Griffin. They were like brothers, seriously. And Johnny was like an uncle to me. And Johnny Griffin has played with Klaus Doldinger and is on some Passport albums. I loved it when Johnny would come to visit us in Omaha. He was so nice. He insisted on being called Uncle Johnny. And he was a nice man. He really was. I liked him a lot. So I was on that vibe last night. Kind of just vibing on the fact that I had talked to Percy Jones. That's huge to me. It really is. Talking to these people, for me, is like being able to talk to the Beatles. It really is. That's how important they are to me personally, musically. It doesn't matter if it's not that way for anyone else. I'm glad I get to share this with you. My excitement. These guys are monsters. They're giants. I could just go on. So I played this last night. Someone from the vinyl community sent this to me. I forget the fellow's name. You might be watching still. He was at the show that this was recorded at in San Francisco. John McLaughlin with the Fourth Dimension and Jimmy Herring's band, The Invisible Whip. This is really quite excellent, and it's the sort of thing that we just come back to it and listen to it with patience, and you just hear how good it is. The blending of the two bands works really well. Now, not obviously, but I prefer John McLaughlin's soloing. But Jimmy Herring raises his game on this. And I hear it in parts where John will play, and John will be playing from that place that is, it's there. And then Jimmy will play, and you'll hear Jimmy working his way towards eliminating unnecessary ego so the music can come through. And you can hear it on certain parts here where it's like, okay, Jimmy, you done raised your game. That's some good guitar. Last thing still sitting out from last night is some Nucleus, Ian Carr's Nucleus. In Flagranti, Delicto, directly associated and part of what they call the Canterbury scene. People that played in Soft Machine and other bands were in Nucleus. Ian Carr is important beyond that when it comes to British jazz. He was a giant, great player, great trumpet player. So it's the end of the year, last day of the year. I have no big plans except to receive my water heater delivery today. I still have to wait 2 days to get it hooked up. So dealing with that, getting through that. I'm not going out on New Year's Eve. It's been years since I've had a New Year's Eve gig. David Nance is playing. I talked to him and let him know that I miss playing with him. I do. I'm not going to lie. But I wished him more power. I said, you guys rock that shit down. So, to wrap the year up, kind of, it's been an eventful year, as they all are. Did I accomplish things this year? Of course, regarding music, friendship, family, personal growth, being awake, staying woke. Tomorrow, which is the first day of 2023, is just another day. I'm always hoping that somehow this ritual of the changing of the years can help some of us change ourselves or try harder. So that's what I keep hoping for. That's my aspiration, is that as the planet deals with climate change and attrition, that we can continue to make efforts to try and save ourselves, in spite of the fact that the overall trend is that things are going straight down the drain. And they will. It is history. It has to happen. But still, as I say, we're consciously involved and can do things. So let's just keep trying. I say, keep trying. I really appreciate reading your thoughts regarding the videos, the music that I share and stuff like that. So yeah, I appreciate that, and I want to say again, people, that, sharing opinions is just sharing our personal view. There is no right and wrong with opinions. And when people come over and make declarations as though they are correct and you should think what I think, I'm not doing that. I say with fervor what interests me, what I like, what I love. But I'm not telling you what to think about these things. I'm sharing with you what I think. I think that's important to keep in mind when you share your opinion, because like I said, I'm sensitive to to language, and people will come over and will make declarations like, "This is how it's supposed to be," and that's just never the case, people. And it's more pleasant when we recognize that, as opposed to arguing our points. That it's pointless. Doesn't help anything. So please, these interviews are a big highlight of the year. I've done several. I won't remember all of them, but I know that, Charles Hayward, Greg Eklund from Everclear, who's a good friend, Ronnie Beck, the drummer who played with Tower of Power, Didier Malherbe from Gong, Jonas Bier of Mew, the two members of Gentle Giant, Gary Green, Derek Shulman, one of my favorite musicians, period, Richard Barbieri. He really is. Richard Barbieri's approach to keyboards. He's one of my top musicians, right up there with Ryuichi Sakamoto. And those guys are above the Beatles in my personal canon. The Beatles changed my life, and for the longest they were up there at the top with Beatles and Genesis and Miles Davis, honestly. But for the longest time, if you would really ask me who are the people that I really have high regard for and just to really have done some things that just blow my mind, Richard Barbieri is right there at the top. So I just want to reiterate that. We'll probably visit again. He said he'd love to talk again. I'm just not being a hog about it. So please, watch the interviews. Check them out. Okay. Talk to you. Of course. Hello, family. Stephanie. Everybody.